Hey, everyone. Welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Anne Ganguzza, and I have something amazing for you bosses today. Today's guest is a one-woman entertainment empire. She's done it all: award-winning journalist, daytime talk show host, actor, stand-up comic, best-selling author, and one of the most recognizable voices in voiceover. You may have heard her as Professor Wiseman on Curious George, in The Proud Family, Kung Fu Panda, and now Invincible Fight Girl. She's also the announcer and promo voice of The Sherry Show, where Sherry Shepherd calls her a daytime talk show legend, which I happen to agree. Rolonda Watts is currently lighting up the screen on Bounce TV's hit comedy Mind Your Business, which I always get to see all the shorts on the Facebook feed, by the way, where she plays Lucille, the sharp, sassy family matriarch that keeps it real with tough love. And somehow I feel like that just echoes your character to a T. And she's also appearing in the upcoming season of Netflix Survival of the Thickest, and was recently inducted into the prestigious Silver Circle by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences at the 2024 Emmys, recognizing her lifetime of groundbreaking work in television. Bosses, please welcome the incomparable Rolonda Watts.
Thank you.
Rolonda, I have to tell you, I'm a big fan. I mean, I've said this to you before, but bosses, I am the biggest fan of Rolonda. I actually know Rolonda from watching her on daytime talk TV. And that was a while ago. I want to say that daytime talk shows had just kind of come into being, and you were one of the first that I watched. And your personality, just everything about you was just amazing. It's just magnetic. And so I am so excited to be able to interview you, a talk show host. So I was like, oh man, how am I going to prepare to talk to you? But you are just so gracious and wonderful. And so that kind of gave me a little bit of hope that I wouldn't completely flub it up today, Rolonda.
I don't think you would do that, Anne.
My goodness. So for the bosses who, don't really know your story and how you started off, I mean, my gosh, you're a media empire. So I don't even, we could have 5 days worth of interviews with you. But it all started as broadcast journalism, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And I went to... well, it's a long story about how I became an actor, but it all started with being 12 years old and going to Broadway with my family and seeing Guys and Dolls. And I was just oh my God, I love the stage. And that's what I want to do. So I went to Spelman and majored in theater arts. And then there weren't a lot of roles when I got out of college. There just wasn't a trek for folks who looked like me in the acting world. And so I fell in love with journalism, went to Columbia's Graduate School of Journalism, and I was a news reporter, an investigative anchor woman, and producer for many years for New York, in WABC, WNBC, Inside Edition.
That's impressive. And all of a sudden, I was an investigative. I mean, you just said it like it came so easy, but I cannot imagine at the time. I mean, you must have had to really work to get yourself in that space.
Well, it was a crazy time because it was the 1980s. There weren't a lot of women in investigative news reporting, not in New York City. And so it was a groundbreaking time for women. And there was so much in the news, especially in New York. It was the big gang wars, the mob wars. Gotti hadn't even come into play yet. Right. So it was murder and mayhem I was covering.
Wow.
And Inside Edition, I was more murder and mayhem.
And remember that.
Yeah. And then a man by the name of Roger King, who in heaven remains the number one sellingest human being in television, asked me if I would like to do my very own syndicated talk show. So for 4 years, I did the Rolonda show. And then when that was over, let's loop back to the 12-year-old who wore the subway token around her neck as a good luck charm. I said, I'm not going to be on a porch when I'm 80 years old going, I coulda, woulda, shoulda. I am going to take my chances and go for my lifelong dream and make that 12-year-old inside of me happy. And I took off and went to Hollywood. And that's where I became an actor and a writer and a producer, and had my own production company, and stumbled into voice acting. And all of these things were part of what so many people call me the reinventionist, but I have had to reinvent my life for so many reasons and so many times. But I believe that as many different things that I've done, and it's all around one thing, and that's what we do as voice actors: good storytelling. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so interesting because before I had really come into like knowing you again, after, you know, watching your talk show and then knowing you as in voiceover, the announcer and promo voice of the Sherry Show. How interesting! Like, you started a talk show. You're like a legend in talk show. In my brain, I'm like, Rolonda, that's so awesome. Like, and now you kind of came full circle back to it a little bit, right? Being the announcer and the promo voice. And I was watching a clip of you the other day, and Sherry was saying something. She was gushing about you, which I get that. She was gushing about you, and it was so interesting. She was giving you this credit about talking about, you know, your talk show and how wonderful you were, and you turned it right, like the conversation went right back to her about how wonderful she was. And I was just blown away by how gracious that was. And I just thought, well, no wonder you made such a great talk show host, such a great like communicator, such a great actor and stand-up comedian and everything, because you just have this wonderful way of connecting with people.
Well, you're awfully sweet, Anne. I'm going to receive all of that. But I thank you for that. You know, I get blown away too, because Sherry does not hold back about what do the folks say, giving me my flowers, and it's nice to receive them when you can smell them, you know. But you know, it's really interesting because we did pave the way for Sherry and Kelly and Drew and Tamron, all of them. And I also know the hard work that those ladies are doing. This job called talk is not easy. The politics that go on, the struggles day to day, the whole idea that the show is bigger than you as a human, it's very trying, and you're out there by yourself. So I, of course, give her flowers back, because you can hand over the baton, but if the person can't run with it, it really doesn't count. So to be able to see that continuum is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And you know what's really funny is that Sherry's executive producer, who you see on the show all the time, John Murray, John was a college student when he first came to see my show. And that's when he got the TV bug. He was bitten by the TV bug. And so I would invite him back. In fact, one time I put him on the show so he could come and see how the producers worked and the behind the scenes working. Skip to him becoming the executive producer of the Sherry Show. And he said there's no other voice that we would have introduce Sherry and pass on the legacy than you. So it's really good. I mean, you got to be nice to kids, because they're coming up and they'll be your boss.
Right? Isn't that the truth? It is.
Yeah.
It's like full circle. You've done so much.
Full circle.
You are, I feel as though I feel like, look, I know how busy I am, and I do a lot of stuff, but I feel like you're doing it all. I mean, you're in that sitcom, and I'm thankful I see the clips that you're posting on Facebook, and it's so funny how the Rolonda that I know, right, that I had a conversation with at VO Atlanta, I mean, I feel like it is just so true to your character. Tell us a little bit about that role, because I feel like you're just having the best time doing it.
Oh my God, Lucille Williams, or Aunt Lucille, is just one of the most wonderful characters. I mean, she's just great. And this coming weekend, she's going to break off into her cougarlicious life. I know.
Oh wait! Wow.
She and her besties, they call themselves the Silver Sneakers. The nieces have convinced them that they need to give up the old guys who just need a nurse and a purse.
Yeah, right.
And go and get some of the young guys. Go get some be cougars. And so we see how that works. But it's very, it's fun to play her. She's sassy. She's the matriarch of the family. But at the same time, we're writing storylines that give her a full-bodied womanness at this certain age,
Absolutely.
So it's great. But Mind Your Business is a wonderful sitcom. It's one of those wonderful family sitcoms. It's produced by Bentley Evans, who did Jamie Foxx and Martin. So you're going to get that kind of zany funniness. Yep. But my character is lost her business almost during COVID and calls on her family to come in and help save the business. And so she moves in with the family to save some money, and all hell breaks loose. They need more of a referee than they do business partners.
Now I love it. If I'm correct, it's you're on season 2. Is that correct?
We're on season 2. That's right.
Will there be more seasons?
We certainly hope so. We're depending on you to watch and binge and love it. We're on Bounce TV or the Brown Sugar app, and you can go look up where you can watch it. Yeah.
Well, I love that. Well, okay, so all right, we have to come to the voiceover aspect of things. So you actually have been doing voiceover since you came to LA, right? And
well, yeah, you know what's so crazy, Anne, is that I was doing voiceover work, promos and announcing and voiceovers, and I didn't even know I was a voice actor because I was doing all of that stuff for my show. I mean, had I known I was a voice actor at that time, I would have had a very different contract, trust me. But but it let me, but just being a news reporter for so many years in New York City and on Inside Edition across the nation, people just knew my voice. And when I moved to LA and gave up the whole news and talk business to come out here and be an actor and a producer, 9 months into the game, the writers went on strike. And instead of hosting an internationally syndicated talk show, I was on the picket line serving pizza to the striking writers. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I had to eat. I had to pay my rent. I mean, and it was like, I'm not going back to news, so what am I going to do? And I remembered that I used to call 411 back when you used to get information, and the operator even knew my voice. They would go, is this Rolonda? And so I said, well, I know I've got a voice. I'll go do voice acting. And I could not catch a cold because I didn't understand what the business was about. I had a voice and I had a microphone, but I had no idea what voice acting was about. So I went over to Kalmanson and Kalmanson over there in Burbank, and I took a class, and that thing saved my life because it was one of the longest strikes in Hollywood, 9 months. And by that time, I had created a whole new career. And the voice actors weren't on strike. So I said, this is a great backup for my physical acting. And there are times, Anne, when my voice works more than my physical acting. And now that I'm becoming a woman of a certain age, those roles aren't coming in as quickly. But honey, I can play a hot 30-year-old with my voice.
I love that you're using the woman of a certain age, because as a woman of a certain age as well.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Exactly. I mean, I say use it, right? I mean, absolutely. And so let's talk just for a brief moment about acting and voice acting. Same, different? What would you say are the key differences? Because you said, I had to go to Kalmanson and Kalmanson, right? So things, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That bosses need to know that are different. And I absolutely always tell people, yes, you should, take acting classes. But also there are some differences. Yeah,
I find that there's it's just a different set of muscles. I think that's what you would say. One is just strictly your imagination. And I think, for me, one helps the other. Well, for instance, the character I play, we talked about Lucille. Lucille talks like this. She's got a little quiver in her voice, and she's just real high pitch like that. So some of those tricks that we learn in terms of texture and pitch and pacing and all of that we do as we imagine our characters, I do the same thing when I see the character on the page. And I say, how does that voice, what is it about her voice that's going to make her stand out? And they know that's Lucille, that's part of her. Because she doesn't have, because that character doesn't have this voice, not my voice.
Right.
So I think that helps me find my characters. In fact, I did a play. And I did 3 plays at one time, craziest thing in the world, never been done. Did 3 plays at one time playing 10 different characters, from a 9-year-old girl to a 76-year-old grandmother. And all of those are different voices.
Yeah.
You know, one was a journalist, one was a, grandmother, one was a little girl who grew up in Mississippi. I mean, those are just such different voices. And I also bring my physical things, like when I'm thinking of a character in my voice acting, I think, what would they wear? Shakespeare said the clothes make the man and the woman too. Are they wearing a cape that they sewed over there? Are they carrying a sword? Does she have really tight bobs in her hair? I mean, does she have a mustache? So there are all kinds of things that I think, if I'm in my prop room or my wardrobe room and it's just my imagination, what can I do to help bring those things to light? Just the way when they put the wig on and the clothes and the heels on for stage or screen, you could become that character. You do the same in your imagination. Yeah.
I love
but
that.
I think it's,
I love that parallel. That makes so much sense, actually. And it's interesting. So for voice actors who have not necessarily acted, what sort of tips would you have for them to be better actors, let's say? Because it's funny, I do a lot of the stuff that people don't think you need to act for, in terms of voiceover, like corporate narration or e-learning, and they think that you don't need to act, but in reality, you're always a character.
That's right.
And so when I'll say to my students, envision that scene, that it's just, to them, they're like, what? Why?
Why don't I just read the words? You know why?
Yeah, exactly.
You know why? Because we're not looking for readers. We're looking for actors. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that folks make who don't become a VO boss, is because they don't understand what this industry is about. It's really not even about your voice. It's not about, everybody has a beautiful, unique voice, because there are no two voices alike. But it's the acting that's going to make you so different. It's those subliminal things under those lines. Sometimes you have a whole commercial that tells a whole life story in 4 lines. And they fought over those lines. Attorneys, 50 people made all those lines. So they mean something. What is the story we're telling here?
Right.
And who am I in the story? And who am I talking to? All of those questions. Where am I? Why am I even talking about this toilet paper? Yeah. And I'm a bear. Why am I even, and I'm a mama bear. I mean, why am I, and I'm not going to act like a bear. But I'm going to act like a mom who's concerned about her kids not wiping themselves. And that's just real stuff. So how do you tap into the authenticity? How do you make it human? Because what our job is to connect with another human being. That's something that folks down there on Madison Avenue, the big advertisers, can't do in their suits. So they depend on us as actors to be human. To be just plain old ourselves and human. No bravado, as we're hearing so much in our copy and in our instruction and directions as actors. Authenticity. Throw it away. Right. Just give it to me. No salesy, no announcery. And I got to tell you, that's the hardest thing in the world to do. Even for us seasoned actors, it's sometimes hard to shake off the formality and just get real with it, and feel comfortable and confident with that.
Can I ask you to repeat that? You said what? You said it was hard? It's hard. It is hard, right? It is so hard. Like, I love it because create that scene, right, in which those words make sense, right?
Yeah.
And tell a story. And sometimes those words are really, we don't know that, like, I have some people that are almost indignant that they don't have a storyboard, or they don't understand the words. So therefore, if they don't, they're just kind of, well, let's just say them then, right? In a melody that I think they want to hear.
Then that's great. Then they'll have a melody that they just heard, but they won't have the commercial.
I love it. So yes, So you said it's hard. Rolonda.
Oh, it's so
Rolonda
hard.
Says it's hard. It is.
I go on
right?
record as saying the hardest thing I've ever had to do, whether it was talk TV or vocal or physical acting, is being myself. Now, in life, I have no problem being authentically Rolonda. What you see is what you get. But it's something that happens when we pick up that script and that microphone is in front of us, and all of a sudden things start changing and happening. We're just not ourselves. I don't sound like myself. I don't like to hear my voice. It's really acting. When you hear people who sound like, how did they get that job? They don't even sound like a voice actor. It's because they are turning themselves into a virtual pretzel just to sound like that, to sound so normal. I remember when I first started doing my talk show, the demand of being an actor, I mean, not an actor, but a talk show host with a talk show called Rolonda, was that you had to be Rolonda. You couldn't be the news reporter anymore. That was crucial to the success. And so it was very hard to even do it then. And I can remember my bosses and my partners calling, going, get that news reporter out of there. Bring back Rolonda. And I said, but I've got this crazy laugh and a raspy voice, and I'm a Southern accent. And that's everything that makes my brand. I mean, it's crazy, but that's Rolonda. When you say Rolonda, that's what you hear. So whatever that is about you, whatever that quirky, crazy thing that you think is your fault, that's going to be your greatest asset. You know, when I was a little kid, they called me Froggy, and I always played all the guys in all my all-girl school plays, and I thought that was a real fault of mine. And now I can play women, men, little boys, pirates, anything in this industry of voice acting. And there's no limitation. The only limitation is your imagination. It's not about the equipment. It's not even about your voice. It's about your brilliant imagination and what you bring to that character, not even the microphone, what you bring to that character that nobody else thought about, that made that animator go, oh, I can't wait to draw this character. And to make the casting director's job easy. They want you to win. They want you to get this job. So give it to them. Show them your special sauce. But I think it takes real practice, like Carnegie Hall, they say. You just don't walk up into Carnegie Hall and start playing the violin. No, you got to learn how the instrument works. You got to learn how to maintain it, take care of it, how to make love to that instrument so it delivers that God-given art and craft that you've put into it. You've got to do the work. And a lot of people think, well, I can just go pick this up and read. And the sad thing is, Anne, they don't take classes and they have no idea what they're doing wrong. The worst thing that can happen is you go years and years and years building on the wrong stuff because you never took the time to learn the right stuff. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm real big on training and classes so that you get the education and the acting experience, and you understand how to break down scripts, you understand the vocabulary of this industry, and how to network and use your resources that are right there at your fingertips.
Well, I think you're probably very much a VO boss on using those resources and networking. Throughout your whole career. That's absolutely something that I feel that you've done so successfully. What would you say is probably the most important tip that you could give to ensure success in this industry? Because it's a evolving industry, and yes, being the queen of reinvention, right? You've had to reinvent yourself not only in voiceover, but in like all the media and how it's evolved over the years. So what would be your best tip to ensure success for people that are in this industry and trying? Because I know there's so many people that are just, I get the acting. I think I can say acting. It's all about acting. But sometimes it just, I don't know. What?
You know what?
Give us more wisdom.
Don't quit. The only people who don't succeed in voice acting are people who quit. You know, even the greatest ones, and you know, when we're at the VO Atlanta conference and we're with the greats, I mean, we're with Bob, who's Porky the Pig, and we're with Joe, who's every network's announcer. And when you hear these major VO stars and pros say, man, I do 50 to 100 auditions and may not nab the job. A lot of us went, whoa, thank God it's just not us. Because I mean, I can show you a stack.
In my head, I'm like, oh, thank God, because I just
I
did
know.
a ton. Yeah.
And look, here's some auditions from this month. Okay.
Why?
Am I booking every one of them? No. But but you have to change your mindset. Every time I show up that microphone and I'm doing an audition, I'm not going up there going, well, I'm not going to get the job anyway. If you've got a bad attitude like that, it's time for you to jump into a classroom and just realign yourself, because this is a long game. And let me tell you what's going to happen. When you get great, you nab that job, you go and do that commercial, 1 hour, it's gone, and you're right back to auditioning again. So don't put all of your emphasis on just the job, but the practice, the maintenance of it, going to conferences like the VO Atlanta conference, VO Dallas conference, SOSA. Look up these places. That's a good place to hobnob. This is a very solo business. You're a solopreneur. You're by yourself. Your microphone, your computer, and your imagination. That's it. So get out and join memberships like Anne's. You can come and take my class, the voice acting masterclass with Rolonda. In fact, I'm going to offer your listeners a very special deal if they're interested.
All right.
But
Awesome.
that's another way that we build community, and you learn what's the cutting edge. Right now we're dealing with AI. What does that mean? Staying on the cutting edge of things that are going to affect your career, and really take it as a business. This is not just a hobby. Understand how your taxes work. Understand the legalities. Understand the questions to ask when you're signing a contract. Just don't run out there all willy-nilly and not ask the right questions, or your voice will be used forever and you not get paid.
Absolutely.
So, you know, the video game people just had a strike and got some, where are we moving forward in the business? Be able to talk intelligently about the business. So when you're out there meeting people, they know, oh, okay, this is somebody really serious. This isn't just somebody who just got a microphone on Amazon and call themselves a voice actor, because there's a lot of that. But I say that really just don't quit, and understand that every time you show up in front of that microphone, it's another opportunity to show your special sauce. And if the casting director doesn't get you into this particular job, and that's not their decision, it's the producers or whoever the client is, if you don't make it then at least they've heard you. I get a lot of times where they're the same client will keep calling me back, and I know I've impressed them in those other auditions I've done. So I know they're looking for something for me. So I just keep showing up, doing the best that I possibly can, and finding ways to make it different, because they've heard the same audition 50 million times, sometimes 500 times. So what can you do to make it a little different and still stay within the parameters? So there's all kinds of tricks and strategies and all kinds of things that you can do to stand out. And also how you market yourself. Like anything else, this is a brand. Just because you have a microphone doesn't mean you have a brand. So really, you know, that's one of the things I tell my students all the time. Once you get the breaking down the script and understand how the microphone and the vocab, let's talk about marketing. Social marketing. How do we brand ourselves? How can you be one name like Rolonda and people immediately know what that means? And so that's really knowing your stuff and knowing your own voice too.
That's so interesting, because for a while when I first started, I had different names. I mean, I of course, I started VO Peeps, I have VO Boss, And then I have Anne Ganguzza brand. And I'm like, I really just need to wrap it all up into the Anne Ganguzza brand. So that finally people say, I need an Anne Ganguzza. Like, I need a Rolonda. I need an Anne Ganguzza. And so I love that you have that brand and you build on that brand. But Rolonda, let me ask you a question, because I saw the stack of auditions. Do you, I mean, still, do you get do you get an imposter syndrome still, or not? Or have you been able to?
I think I'm pretty much at this time in my life, I know who I am. You know, I'm not trying to, I've done enough and achieved enough and have enough confidence in myself. I think, and I think this is the other thing about this industry is confidence, because you can hear, I can hear through a microphone if you're not confident and you don't even believe yourself. If you see it, I'm going to see it. If you believe it, I'm going to believe it. And that's half the battle. I mean, and that's also part of the practice of this art and this craft is learning how to still your nerves. Breathing is so much a part. Warming up is so much a part of it. And it's a full body job. This is an inside job because your beautiful vocal cords are right here and this body encases it. So you got to work out. You got to stretch. You know, I love this. Old Morgan Freeman used to say that the secret to his great voice was a good deep yawn. You know, because it just loosens up everything. And these 41 muscles up here need to be worked out. A lot of people just jump right up, start reading, don't even warm up their mouths.
As evidenced by your, I think it was yesterday when I saw you on Facebook and you were like, all right, I'm going back to the gym.
I know, I messed up. This is, I'm a hot mess.
But I think that warming up, I mean, it helps. It absolutely does. I mean, just a physical walk, you know, if you go to the gym, a physical warm-up does absolutely help. Now, we did talk, we touched upon the confidence issue. And one thing that I'm really excited about is that in, let's see, is it in September on the 17th, we are going to have you doing a guest directorship for the VO Bosses on improv to improve your confidence and connection. So we will be talking about how bosses can remain confident or stay confident or get confident in the booth. And I love that you said that we can hear that confidence. And it's really interesting because even if you're telling a story and it may not be the story that ends up being on the video or the commercial, right? If we're auditioning and we're telling a story and we're convinced of it and we are confident in it, then the people listening, the casting directors, the people that will cast us, will believe it as well. And I think that's one of the telltale signs that they say, shortlist, or that's what's going to get you the gig. So
I tell you,
confidence, I think, has a lot to do with it.
I think confidence, and that's really believing in yourself and being able to take chances and risk. Because, you know, think about it. The casting director is hearing 500 people say the same 3 lines.
Exactly.
What are you going to bring to that story that's going to make a difference? I'll give you an example. I did an AT&T commercial, and it was about, it was a very little short commercial, and it was about a young girl who sees her mother who has gone out for girls' night at a salsa club. And she says, "Mom, is this you on social media?" And the mother goes, "Oh, yes, honey, we were out with Raul last night and we were just dancing. And then something happened and I said, and I just twirled." That was not even a line in the script. But I just had this imagination because I used to go out and salsa with my girlfriends in California. And honey, when Eduardo would ask us to dance, woo, we would twirl. And that just brought that into that like an Aunt Lucille. And that's what got me the gig. Yeah. And it was just that little button that we say, you know, because they've heard 500 times that people say the same thing. Yes, I went salsaing with my girlfriend, but nobody twirled but me.
Nobody else is twirling.
Nobody else is twirling. Honey, that's how much fun I had, which lets you know what that video must have looked like that the girl saw.
Absolutely.
And listen, and the fact that these old ladies were even on social media lets you know those boys were young. They taught him how to tick and talk and twirl, you know. So I'm having a whole imaginative thing about going out with my girlfriends, and then my daughter catching me. Oh, please, child, we had a good time. You know, we don't care about what people think at this age. So bringing all of those things, even my own wisdom at this age, like, I don't care, honey. I'm twirling with Eduardo because the guys my age don't twirl. So I'm bringing all of that fun into it. You know, another example was when I did Judge Joe Brown. You know, I was the announcer for that show. And when I was doing the audition, we had to, you know, it was a promo. So I would have to read the line and then listen to the sound bite and then read the line in between and listen to the sound bite, read the line. And I was so big. Judge Joe was such a crazy freaking judge show. I would say, coming up today on Judge Joe, I'm going to slit your tire and I'm going to beat Shaniqua. Mary can't stand John. And then I'm going to cut your other tire. And then I would be, and then one time I just went, whoa, oh, the next Judge Joe. Honey, they fell on the floor. I was so busy listening that I was reacting like an at-home person. And I was like, ooh, on the next joke. I was so irreverent that they created a little animation called Lady Justice. And it was a little bug. And I made up this whole story that Lady Justice was in love with Joe, just like the daytime audience was. Gone, Joe. Tell him, Joe. That's Judge Joe. You know, because I know the daytime audience. So that's the other question we ask. Who are you talking to? This wasn't the Inside Edition audience. This wasn't the Eyewitness News audience. This is Judge Joe. That's the daytime girl.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
And that's one of the shows I got my Emmy for. So, you know, taking that chance to be authentic, to be real. Don't be afraid to take that risk. You can do a straight one on the next Judge Joe, and Shaniqua's going to go. But honey, one time, let it rip and show them that you can have fun. Fun is the main key. If it's not fun, don't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you can make someone laugh, if you can bring a smile to that casting director or that person listening to you, oh my goodness. And speaking of, because normally I try to make this a 30-minute podcast, but I do want to touch upon the fact that you are a stand-up comedian as well, and we had quite a conversation at VO Atlanta on that. And so I feel like that's just all embedded in your personality. I think you were always a funny person, like from maybe a young girl. But talk to us about being stand-up comedy is tough.
Oh, it's really tough. But you know something, who are you talking to? That's true. And you know something, Lunell taught me that. She said, know your audience, be able to switch on a dime, whatever. But I'm going to tell you, just VO bosses, that comedy helps immensely.
Oh, I bet.
It helps your timing. You know, so much of comedy comes in threes. So when you're doing animation or even some fun commercials, what's that third line where the funny? Right. Where's that? Yeah. Where's the funny? And that also gives you the confidence and the imagination. And I tell you, funny. What Joan Rivers told Sherry Shepherd. Funny girls always work. Funny women always work. So adding a little humor to something, I think, makes you stand out. But I love the craft of comedy. I'm got some comedy shows here in New York at the Comedy Village, comedy in Harlem, and then I'm going to go out to Flappers in LA this winter, December, for the holidays, and I'm opening for Lunell, and that's really exciting. So awesome. Yeah, I'm getting my comedy on. Look out for me on Netflix one day.
I know. Absolutely. Well, I mean, I do not doubt it. Well, Rolonda, it has been such a pleasure. I wish I could talk to you for another 5
Oh, wait a minute. Speaking of Netflix, I got to do this, and we're talking about Michelle Buteau's show, Survival of the Thickest. I'm on that one as well on Netflix. Okay.
Awesome. Oh,
yeah.
And before we actually go, talk to us a little bit about September 17th, Improv to Improve Your Confidence. A little bit about what we're gonna be diving into in that class.
Oh, I can't wait till that class, because improv is such a great way to gain your confidence, to loosen up, and to have a whole bunch of fun. The beautiful thing about improv is there are certain rules that we go by, but it's just fun, and it's going to help you tap into your authenticity. One good example, we improv every day in life. You talk to your lover very different than you do to your boss, and don't let your best girlfriend call you in the middle of the day. And then when your mother calls, listen to all the different voices that we have. And that's a lot of improv too. Improv also helps you listen. And much of acting is about listening. And I think you will surprise yourself. And part of the improv to improve your confidence is finding your own voice and discovering things through this exercise about your own experiences and about your being able to react on a dime and have fun and laugh about it. Then when you get those scripts, you can improv in your head. I always do a little role play before I start something. Like if I have to play an old grandma, then I talk like an old grandma. Okay, I spit in, runs out. Her teeth don't fit too well. She got a little pain in her rats every once in a while. So you keep building these wonderful things that help you. Listen, you may not get that job, but you know you're going to doggone put in the effort because you've done the work. You will be so surprised all the places that your voice will take you. And improv, too. I mean, there are times you're going to meet strangers, a new boss, and going to have to improv, too. So improv is going to be a fun exercise for us. We're going to then take scripts, break down those scripts, and do some acting. I'm going to teach you about Uta Hagen's 9 questions. We're going to talk a bit about Sandy Meisner's techniques. And these are just little things that you can put in your hip pocket that will help you when you go out into the world and you're in that booth by yourself and you look to the right and the left and there's nobody there but padded walls. What are you going to do? You're not going to freak out, because we're going to learn about warm-ups and what we do with all this body when we're nervous and behind a microphone, because I can hear nervousness. I can hear it. So let's work on that.
Rolonda,
but that's basically it.
Did you hear my nerves when I was?
You are so not nervous. Yeah, listen, you need to
make it easy.
You've got the Ganguzza method. That's it.
There you go. It's
I want to be Ganguzza'd. I love it.
I love it. Rolonda, oh my gosh, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure talking to you today.
You know how much fun we have. We get together and start talking, and the sun could come up.
So true, so true. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for our class in September. Bosses, I'm going to give a great big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses like Rolonda and myself. Find out more at ipdtl.com. Bosses, have an amazing week, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Hey, Anne.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to add this, that if any of your listeners wanted to check out my voice acting masterclass, I'm going to offer 50% off if they use the code VOBOSS50.
Oh, I love it. VOBOSS50.
VOBOSS50.
Guys. Thank you
and
so
that's
much,
just
Rolonda.
for your listeners. 50% off VO Boss listeners. Go to Rolonda.com.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
bosses. Thank you, Rolonda.
Bye.